Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching Gulf Today on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top headlines of the hour. Israel says its strikes on Gaza killed more than 100 people after a soldier's death, claiming it targeted terrorists, including a Hamas commander. Tel Aviv insists it remains committed to the US-brokered ceasefire as Trump backs Israel's right to retaliate. Chinese Vice President Han Zheng meets Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh, vowing to strengthen high-level ties and mutual support. The talks come amid delays in China-Gulf trade deal, with Riyadh concerned over cheap Chinese imports impacting its industrial plans. Lebanese media says Israeli soldiers stormed the southern town of Bilda before dawn, killing a municipal employee inside the local government building. The troops withdrew after several hours and the Lebanese army later recovered the body. The IDF has not commented on the situation. President Donald Trump says the US and China could sign a trade deal pretty soon after talks with Xi Jinping in South Korea. He announces a deal on rare earth access and immediate tariff reduction, calling the agreement a turning point after months of economic tensions. Trump also ordered the immediate testing of America's nuclear weapons, a shock move that casted a shadow over the summit. It signals both deterrence and desperation as he tried to pressure Beijing. Trump also says he's given South Korea approval to build a nuclear-powered submarine, a move that would put Seoul among an elite group of nations. The vessel will be built in a Philadelphia shipyard as Seoul agrees to buy more US oil and gas. Hurricane Melissa tears through the northern Caribbean after slamming Cuba and Jamaica with 185-mile-per-hour winds, the strongest storm ever to strike the island. At least 25 people were killed in Haiti as hundreds of communities remain cut off. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva says the country cannot accept the scourge of organised crime after the deadliest police raid in Rio's history left at least 121 people dead. He calls for coordinated action against drug gangs that doesn't endanger police or civilians. US President Donald Trump has ordered the immediate restart of American nuclear testing, calling it appropriate for the US to resume as other nations continue their own programs. Trump said the move comes as part of wider talks with Russia on what he called denuclearization, but added that with others testing nuclear arms, the United States must act too. Trump's decision to restart nuclear weapons testing follows a rapid expansion by China of its nuclear stockpile in recent years and came just after Russia announced what it called a successful test of a nuclear-powered and nuclear-capable cruise missile, as well as a nuclear-powered torpedo. The decision marks a dramatic shift in US nuclear policy, ending a 33-year pause since the last American test in 1992. We're now joined by Dr. Wael Awad. He's a Middle East affairs expert and he joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Dr. Awad. It's a pleasure to have you on the program and to speak to you as always. Dr. Awad, 33 years since the United States last tested its nuclear weapon, and today Donald Trump has announced that it will be commencing it once again. What message is Trump sending to the world here? Is it deterrence or provocation?
Well, I think it is timed wrongly because he tried to give a jittery movement to Xi Jinping while he's meeting him in China, in South Korea, the Chinese leader, and that's why they wanted to tell the Russian as well that the America will start commencing its own nuclear testing. It's not going to be an immediate one, but definitely it's an indication that we are also heading for another period of Cold War, where the nuclear race between the superpowers. And I think that is unnecessarily done. But America actually is worried about the Chinese. They are piling their nuclear capabilities. They're increasing. And also the Russian, where the Russian president also declared about this torpedo rocket, which is one of the most sophisticated weapon in the world currently, as per the Russian claiming. So therefore, I think it's a very strong message from the American president that he still have the guns. Maybe other people have the key for the stability and market stability and economic issues, but the Americans still have the guns to settle the issues in the world.
Dr. Awad, how might Gulf and Middle Eastern states react to this? More alignment with Washington or deeper anxiety about US unpredictability?
Well, I think most of the people in the Middle East knows that, the American consider the GCC country as the custodian for the American, and that's why they're providing them with the with the protections from other, that they have the maximum deal with the Arab countries, especially the GCC, in terms of guns and selling them arm and ammunition. And you remember that American president, in his last visit to the region, he collected more than $4.5 trillion, and he went to the United States. So having said that, I said after the attack on Qatar, there's a new arrangement also there. So the Arab world is reacting very, I don't say that very cautiously on this. It's not much of a change, but what worries us is mainly the undeclared nuclear state, which is Israel for us, which is having the only country in the world have the nuclear and nobody talks about it.
Yes, Dr. Awad, do stay with us here on NewsX World. We have further updates coming our viewers' way. The United Nations nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Agency, otherwise known as the IAEA, is now carrying out inspections in Iran, but not at the 3 sites bombed by the United States in June. The agency's chief, Rafael Grossi, has confirmed. Grossi has said that they are not inspecting the stricken sites and they are in discussion with Iran. He has added that the IAEA does not see any substantive work going on in the region. Let's take a listen in to what the IAEA chief has said.
We are trying to build it back, and we are inspecting in Iran, not at every site that we should be doing it, but we are gradually coming back. We are not inspecting the stricken sites, Natanz, Isfahan and Fordow, to be very, very clear. We are in discussion with Iran. We do not see anything that would give rise to hypothesis of any substantive work going on there.
We're once again joined by Dr. Awad. Dr. Awad, the IAEA chief says these inspectors haven't seen any work inside of the Iran's facilities that they have been allowed in. Do you interpret that as reassurance, even though they haven't seen, they haven't been allowed into those 3 sites that were bombed by the United States, like Fordow, Isfahan, and Natanz?
Well, I think the Iranians have made it very clear for the International Atomic Nuclear Agencies that they are no longer interested in talking to them after the American bombardment and the Israeli bombardment of the nuclear sites, that the IAEA has played on the hand of the American, in fact, and bombing these things without even condemning the American action. Now, therefore, they said there is no longer required. However, the pressure coming from European country and the American now on Iran to come back into the nuclear deal with them and to talk about allow the inspection, have made them open to allow the visit of the agency representative into their site. But there is no activity at the moment taking place because, you know, the attack was posed extensive damage to these places where the Iranians are trying to rebuild. But I think the reconciliation from the agency with the Iranian authorities is very much on the card, and they wanted to make sure that they will be allowed again to enter, because Iran does not want it to go under the sanctions now, expanding again to the European, which is falling in the American hand. But they wanted to make sure that their nuclear program continue to be a peaceful and civilian program.
Yeah, and Dr. Awad, why does Tehran not want the United Nations nuclear inspection body to have access to these sites that the United States bombed earlier this year?
I think because the trust factor has been missing after the American bombardment, and I don't think they are willing to allow them to do the inspection, because America, even are unable to assess the damage they have caused, despite the fact that most of the satellite pictures Americans have provided and the Israelis say that there was extensive damage have happened to these places. But Iranian says that not much of a damage happened, but definitely there is a trust factor is missing between the two, and I think it will take some time before the Iranian come in terms with the international nuclear agencies, because the inspectors are not abiding by the charter they are supposed to do on that basis, according to the Iranian.
But of course, the United Nations is supposed to be a bipartisan player in this. It is not supposed to stand with neither Israel or the United States. Why is Iran restricting Rafael Grossi and the IAEA from inspecting those sites?
But do you think that the UN is doing its own jobs? Are they adhering to the charter of the UN that they're doing their jobs? Absolutely not. They're basically an agent of the American and the West. They're not even applying 1% of what their job is supposed to be done. Having said that, it has been done in Iraq, and we all know how the Americans deceived the world opinion by saying that Iraq having a nuclear weapon, and unilaterally and went and occupied and invaded Iraq and destroyed and killed more than 1 million Iraqi. The same thing they have done for Libya. And I don't think anybody is fool enough that the Iranian will be taken for a ride by the American again. And unlike also the North Korean, what they have defied the American dictate on these issues. So I think there are people in the world who recognize that the international body is being compromised and used by certain power for their own political objectives.
Okay, Dr. Awad, thank you very much and for joining us. Pleasure to have you on the program, and thank you for taking the time. We now move on over and more. We have more from West Asia. Israel has launched another airstrike on northern Gaza, according to the Gazan-run health ministry. The latest strike hit Beit Lahia on Wednesday evening, killing at least 2 people. The Israeli military said it targeted what it described as a weapons storage site, posing an immediate threat to its forces. Meanwhile, in southern Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met US troops at a joint coordination center, saying both countries are working on a plan to disarm Hamas and demilitarize Gaza. Let's take a listen in to what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said on the issue.
קודם כל אני שמח לארח פה בקריית גת את ידידינו האמריקנים. הם עובדים יחד איתנו על תוכנית להשיג עזה אחרת, עזה שלא תהווה איום על ישראל יותר. אבל באותה מידה אנחנו רוצים להביא לכך שבסוף היעד שהנשיא טראמפ ואנחנו סיכמנו עליו בהסכמה של אחרים, של פירוק החמאס מנשקו ופירוז עזה יושג, ועל זה אנחנו עובדים בשלבים יחד עם מרכיבים אחרים של התוכנית. אני מאמין שבשיתוף פעולה עשינו כבר דברים שהדהימו את העולם, גם באיראן, גם בשחרור חטופינו החיים שאף אחד לא האמין שנצליח. אז יש פה מאמץ אמיתי בשיתוף פעולה עם שמירה של הביטחון בידינו להשיג תוצאות שאולי אף אחד לא מאמין שנשיג, ואנחנו רוצים לנסות.
Meanwhile, in New York, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani called the renewed violence very disappointing, saying that Doha remains focused on keeping the ceasefire intact. Let's take a listen in to the Qatari Prime Minister's statements.
Well, look, if we will start to describe the violations, it will be an open-ended questions. But what happened yesterday, the attack on the Israeli soldiers, that's basically a violation by the Palestinian Party. Now, Hamas has put a statement that they are not in communication with this group. We don't know yet. We didn't have any verification if this is true or not. We remained focused on making sure that the ceasefire itself holds. Yesterday's event was honestly something that very disappointing and frustrating for us to see that it's happening. And we were trying to contain it, and we mobilized right away after this and in full coordination with the United States. And we have seen that the US also is committed to the...
We're now joined by Peter Baum. He's the foreign editor of the Weekly Blitz, and he joins us live from London. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. We've seen that Israel has launched another strike. This time it is estimated to have killed at least 2 people in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza. This, of course, comes after something where a Israeli forceman, an IDF soldier, was killed just a couple of days ago. The current state of the ceasefire, how would you analyse it? There is worry scurrying from around the globe about how, if this ceasefire is going to continue to hold, particularly after reported over 100 people were killed in Israeli strikes just around 24 hours ago.
Morning, Thomas, and thank you for having me on again. You've actually stolen my thunder, sir, by playing that very important statement from the Qatari Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani. What he said was very, very interesting, and in this world of where media is so important as to how one views the conflict, his statement was quite incredible, really. I must read, you've actually stated the quote, so I'll just go over it. But he accused a Palestinian party, he did not name Hamas as being that party, but the inference was there, of being the ones responsible for breaking the ceasefire. Coupled with Donald Trump's statement that he was supportive of the Israeli airstrike that, let's say, responded to the ceasefire, and the lack of strong condemnation that one normally gets from the United Nations and other world leaders about Israeli bombings in Gaza, I think this was quite not only a public relations win for Israel, but also a military victory, because from what I'm gathering from Israeli sources, some of the most senior remaining commanders that Hamas has in the field were eliminated during that strike a day ago. So on every front, plus I must say, going back to the statement of the Qatari Prime Minister, that it was disappointing that the ceasefire had been broken and all parties are still willing to achieve a ceasefire. I think that was a shot, a winning shot for Israel during this conflict. It will be interesting to see how Hamas respond to this latest round of violence. There is one other thing, if I may add, Thomas, another little PR victory for Israel, which, as we know, over the last 2 years has just been overwhelmed with negative media, and we've seen that on the streets of all global capitals. The Red Cross actually came out with a statement condemning Hamas. Very unusual for the Red Cross, for Hamas being seen to surreptitiously dig up a body of a remaining hostage, a dead hostage, which was all a public relations stunt. So on two fronts in the last 48 hours, we've witnessed something that we haven't witnessed in the last 2 years. Condemnation, outright condemnation, that it was the Palestinian Party that broke the ceasefire, and also the condemnation from the Red Cross, which to this date has been very unfriendly towards Israel. So again, well, we're all waiting to see if Hamas responds to this latest round of violence.
Yes, indeed, Peter. Do stay with us as we have further updates from the West Asian region, where the head of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, Mohamed Hamdan Diaglo, has vowed that Sudan will be unified, whether through peace or through war, following his forces' capture of a key city. Diaglo said that the liberation of El Fasher represents a crucial opportunity for Sudanese unity, reaffirming his commitment to bring the country together by any means necessary. Meanwhile, he announced the formation of a committee to investigate and hold accountable those responsible for reported violations in the newly captured city. Diaglo has reached the situation. Let's listen in.
في تجاوزات حصلت في الفاشر، فنحن من هنا بنعلن تشكيل لجنة التحقيق، ومش نعلن إعلان كلام، لا، احنا الآن لجان وصلت الفاشر. القانونيين الآن في الفاشر، الآن بايتين في الفاشر. صحيح مسيرات شغالة في الناس، ما خلت الناس يشتغلوا، ما خلت الناس يقوموا بواجبهم، لكن الآن لجان وصلت الفاشر. لجنة التحقيق تبدأ فورا في تحقيق ومحاسبة أي جندي أو أي ضابط ارتكب جرم أو تجاوز حدوده في حق أي إنسان، ده فورا يتم القبض والإعلان النتيجة فورا وعلنا.
However, the European Union has accused the RSF of brutality by stating that there was evidence of civilians being targeted because of their ethnicity. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara held talks in Riyadh with Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan as part of his current visit to Saudi Arabia. State media reported the discussions between Shara and bin Farhan dwelt on the implementation of joint agreements and ways to enhance bilateral cooperation. Meanwhile, Shara has said at the Future Investment Initiative, at the presence of the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, that Syria has attracted overseas investment totaling around $28 billion so far this year. Shara has added that Syrian laws have been amended to allow foreign investors to transfer funds out of the country. We're now joined by Peter Bourne once again. Peter, of course, Donald Trump lifted the sanctions on Syria. Is there serious hope for the Syrian economy here? Al-Shara seems to be making his rounds and making serious diplomatic ties as the new leader of, seemingly, a new Syria.
Thomas, you're absolutely correct. I was privileged enough to be on your programme yesterday, and we were talking about the Syrian president's meetings with Putin. And I stated that this guy is diplomatically very, very astute. And this has just been re-emphasized by the commitment of Saudi Arabia to invest in Syria. He's making all the right noises. There is an absolute hope for the new Syrian regime and the economy. People are forgetting this chap's background and experience in terrorism, provided that he makes the right moves diplomatically. He's Trump is very happy because he believes that Syria could join the Abraham Accords. The Saudis are backing him financially. Putin's meeting with him seemed to have gone well, and Turkey, obviously being a major player, had very good relations with him. So diplomatically, the new Syrian regime is making all the right noises and being very, very politically astute. There is a chance, if this trajectory continues to be followed, that the Syrian economy, albeit it might take a number of years, will recover from the dire straits that the former President Assad left it in.
Yes, Peter Baum, thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to get your insight and listen to you on these topics. Well, that is all that we have time for today. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the globe. Thank you very much for joining us.